Breaking news, guys. After the mainstream media noise has finally settled, the true winner of the ABC presidential debate was revealed to be former President Donald Trump. The man himself talks about it right here.
This is why all of her policies changed. She was anti-fracking. She was anti-everything. And all of a sudden, she changed. Even the first question she was given at the debate gave one of the dumbest answers. They were asking about pricing and would you be better off today or 4 years ago? Prices have gone up at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And just the concept of being better off, she didn't give the answer. She talked about when she grew up, nobody knew what the hell she was talking about. And based on the polls, it didn't work because Rasmussen, as you probably saw, just came out and they just lifted me up by 6 points for president, which is one of the biggest increases they've ever had in one little short period of time of a couple of days, up 6 points. And I thought the debate was great. I thought I did very well, but I was fighting three people. I was fighting the crazy left radical lunatics at ABC, I think considered the worst broadcaster out there. George Slobodanopoulos, that whole group, they're bad. And I lost a lot of respect for David Muir. He came at me with things, and we'll go over it in a second. But
now, honestly, guys, we called it right from the start. Trump was going to win this thing hands down, and he sure did. If anything, Kamala Harris did do a good job of convincing people not to vote for her. So I guess we should thank her for that, right? And that and helping a lot of Americans finally decide to stop watching ABC. But yeah, like I was saying, guys, polls beat debates any day of the week, and the polls show that the Pennsylvania debate was nothing but a blip on the radar for our former commander-in-chief. In fact, here's Fox News anchor Bret Baier taking a look back at how previous presidential debates have impacted the polls.
Last night provided Americans the opportunity to hear former President Trump and Vice President Harris's competing visions for the nation. Historically, following debates in the past, former President Trump has been behind in the polls. As it currently stands, in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, Harris maintains a slight edge in that average. After the first debate in 2020, President Biden's lead over President Trump was much higher. He had a 9-point advantage. And that first debate was characterized by many as chaotic, with personal jabs and taunts amid clashes over policy.
Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why wouldn't you answer that question?
The question is,
the radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Okay, so 4 years earlier, a record average of 84 million viewers watched Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's first face-off.
Donald supported the invasion of Iraq.
Wrong.
That is absolutely
wrong.
Proved over and over again.
So following that debate, if you look at the polls, Trump trailed Clinton nationally again by 9 percentage points. The location of that last night's showdown between Trump and Harris is significant. Past debates have shown and appeared to benefit former President Trump in Pennsylvania polling. Current polls show the former president and the vice president really in a dead heat in the critical swing state. In 2020, President Biden led Trump in Pennsylvania, but following their first debate, Trump saw a slight boost there with voters. Now, if we go in past presidential debates and past presidential races, President Biden obviously ended up winning the 2020 election, as you can see here. He won Pennsylvania by just, 1 point. Just a little bit over 1 percentage point. Major cities in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh really boosted him. They're home to heavily Democratic urban residents, wealthy college-educated suburban voters, both groups helping propel Biden to victory in Pennsylvania. But let's take a look back to 2016. We can see Trump won that state by less than 1 point, thanks in part to counties where Republican-leaning voters, rural voters, live. And now let's zoom out in 2016. You can see, if past his prologue, Pennsylvania could play a pivotal role either way again in this election.
So yeah, guys, bottom line, if history is any indication, things are turning up for Donald Trump, especially in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at it from the left-leaning news network CNN.
All right, Harry, talk to us about what the states look like, the battleground states.
Yeah, so look, this is about the Electoral College, right? So let's take a look at the average margin. Nationally, Harris is ahead in the average poll by 2.5 points. But look in those 7 key battleground states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Harris is only ahead by 0.3 points, John. So the bottom line is, in those 7 key battleground states, it's a significantly tighter race than it is nationally, John.
So Al Gore and Hillary Clinton are calling right now, Harry, asking what the chances are that Harris could win the popular vote but lose in the Electoral College.
Okay, so basically, you note that 2.5 point lead nationally here, right? Okay, Harris's chances, if she wins the popular vote by 2 to 3 points, the chance she wins the Electoral College is only 53%. The bottom line is, once you have to get all the way north to about 3 to 4 points for Harris to have a clear chance, the clear majority chance of winning the Electoral College. If she only wins by less than 2, look at that. Only a 23% chance of winning. Right now, Harris is right now in that danger zone where basically about half the time, given that popular vote margin nationally, she would win. And so here's the situation. Chance Harris wins the popular vote at this point is about 70%, but the chance she wins the Electoral College is only about 50%. So the bottom line is, at this hour, John, there's about a 20% chance that Kamala Harris wins the popular vote, but actually loses in the Electoral College. So we could be heading towards one of these splits that we saw in 2016 and in 2000, whereby one candidate, Kamala Harris, wins in the popular vote, but loses in the Electoral College. Basically, at this hour, we're right in that sort of weird middle zone where we honestly don't know what's going to happen based upon the popular vote. And that is why those national polls that show Kamala Harris ahead, at this point, really don't matter that much.
Now, in case you guys didn't catch that, guys, that was CNN senior anchor Henry Enton admitting on national television that all those national polls that have Harris up really don't even matter that much. Also, that debate, it didn't even register any meaningful change in the polls. So it looks like we're going to see Hillary Clinton 2.0 happen because Donald Trump won that ABC debate easy enough, even though they gave Kamala Harris all the questions ahead of time, at least according to many critics online. So yeah, now that the dust is finally settling after the first debate between Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris, we see the real situation reveal itself. The political elites, they're just plain oblivious to how Kamala Harris missed the mark in achieving her goals big time. I mean, sure, you got most mainstream media, news outlets and channels saying that Kamala Harris won, but when you look really closely, it's the political elite, including a number of famous Republicans, completely misreading what happened in the confrontation between the ABC News Harris team and their sole opponent, President Donald Trump. You know what the American people saw? Well, let me tell you guys. Every Trump supporter and many independents saw the blatant bias of ABC's moderators, who appeared less like neutral hosts and more like active debaters helping Harris take on President Trump. Needless to say, guys, viewers are outraged. I've even heard some people outright condemn both ABC and Vice President Harris. Now, one comment online said ABC didn't have to give her the questions. She was clearly giving them the questions. Considering the fact that one of Kamala Harris's close friends runs ABC News only reinforces this idea. For a lot of Americans, the fix was in and the whole thing was rigged. Now, let me tell you guys, the people know what's what. Trump supporters, they make up about 48% of Americans who feel that there is a corrupt establishment trying to control their lives and rip them off. The obvious bias displayed by ABC News during the debate, it didn't help convince them otherwise. In fact, the whole thing only reinforced their beliefs and basically solidified Harris as part of that establishment. Now, I personally know people both in our comments and in real life that are basically downright furious about the debate, and they're frustrated by how Harris seemed to underestimate their intelligence. Harris didn't help their case either. Instead, the vice president spent much of her time pulling faces and trying to look cute for the audiences at home. And if you guys watched the whole thing, you would see how her behavior came across more like that of a spoiled teenager than a potential commander-in-chief of the country. Now, again, this is the political elites at work, guys. You see, the elites, they tend to prioritize style over substance, and they expect everyone to play along as if they're at some fancy Washington cocktail party. But we know better. Most Americans don't appreciate being treated like they're ignorant, especially by polished, clever people who think that they can't see through the manipulation. Hit the like button and drop a quick yes in the comments down below if you guys agree with our message here. And if you want to help in our fight to get out the truth, you can also subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell. Appreciate you guys. Now, guys, the reality is Vice President Kamala Harris cannot afford to be honest with who she is, because admitting her true beliefs, not to mention the failures failures of the past 3.5 years, it would seriously hurt her campaign. And you can see that in the debate. The ABC moderators did everything that they could to prevent Donald Trump from exposing the truth about her. One of the most obvious moments was when they intervened, claiming no states allow babies to be left to die after birth. Now, that statement was completely false. In Minnesota, under Governor Tim Walz, mind you, at least 8 babies have been left to die after botched abortions. It's a matter of public record. Now, if you're looking for a vice president who supports such policies, well, then Tampon Tim is your man. Meanwhile, what keeps President Donald Trump's supporters so loyal despite all of the controversies, from Russia investigations to impeachments and countless legal battles, is that he's not part of the typical polished political class. He's not one of those slick, manipulative elites. You may like or you may dislike Trump, admire him or not, but what you see is the real Trump. But in contrast, the debate between Harris, a privileged left-wing elitist, and Donald Trump, a relatable, straightforward guy that people can actually connect with, it's not that Trump can't navigate high society. After all, he owns country clubs. He can afford all the fancy tuxedos any politician might want, but he's a regular guy who doesn't hide who he really is. And we've seen this time and time again. In politics, authenticity always wins. Being true to yourself beats being bent out of shape just to become somebody your consultants have coached you to be. What the people in Kamala Harris's campaign just don't get is this has become a core truth in American politics for years. So the reason why the polls aren't showing up for Kamala Harris like they want it to be is because of the very simple fact that the elites completely misunderstood the debate's outcome. They simply place more value on style than substance when it's substance that American voters really want. They expected and accepted that ABC would be biased, one-sided, and arrogantly abrasive. In fact, I think being elitist as these people are, they probably believe that President Trump as an outsider deserved that kind of treatment. But yeah, leave it to the founding fathers. They understood that true freedom ultimately depends upon all the people, not just the elite. The Republican president Abraham Lincoln famously reminded the people that without popular sentiment, anything is possible. Without popular sentiment, nothing is possible. So now poll results show Trump's authenticity and substance outshining the ABC Harris team's dishonesty and over-rehearsed style, regardless of the columns and the quotes of those who totally misread what happened. Because mainstream media, they just don't get the true wisdom of the American people. In fact, it was veteran Democratic political consultant Joe Napolitan who once said to never underestimate the intelligence of the American people, nor overestimate the amount of information that they have. Because looking at that debate, I would say that Vice President Kamala Harris underestimated the intelligence of the American people that she wants to lead, and then she made matters worse by basically showing them how poor a president she would be. Now, this is the kind of information that could determine the outcome of this election as early as now. So, what do the Democrats do? Well, they up the inflammatory rhetoric and hope that somebody takes out Trump. I mean, we just saw the second assassination attempt on the former president, guys. Ryan Ruth, the suspect who hid out in the bushes at Donald Trump's West Palm Beach golf club, waiting for his shot at the ex-former president. AK-47 style rifle at the ready. Serial number filed off. This wasn't some 20-year-old without a political paper trail. Kind of like the first would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks. In fact, Ryan Ruth, 58 years old, frequently posted about politics on X and other social media, had a Biden-Harris sticker on his truck, and exclusively donated to Democratic candidates and causes dating all the way back to 2019. He even featured in a New York Times story last year, highlighting his efforts to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight against Russia in Ukraine. He was willing to fight in the Ukraine himself, but the Ukrainians didn't want him or his dubious recruits. In short, we got a very motivated man of action, and he was prepared to kill for a cause. And Democrats basically painted a target on former President Donald Trump with their dangerous rhetoric. As Ruth wrote in a tweet, democracy is on the ballot and we cannot lose. You know what that sounds like? Every Democrat in the DNC. I mean, just take a look at the kind of things that they're saying about the former president. Just days after the first assassination attempt, the anti-Trump Lincoln Project was again comparing Trump to Hitler. On July 19th, Democratic Senator Martin Heinrich, he called Trump an existential danger to our democracy. And even in the presidential debate, Kamala Harris accused Donald Trump of attacking the foundations of our democracy. Now, when you listen to Democrats or tune into MSNBC, they make you feel like the country is teetering on the edge of dictatorship. And if you're anything like Ryan Ruth, you probably say that if there were ever a moment for preemptive action, it's now. I mean, I don't understand why Democrats just don't get their own double standard. You see, for Democrats to condemn political violence while making their supporters believe that all freedom freedoms are lost if Trump wins isn't just hypocritical, it's irresponsible. Progressives need to find a way to challenge Donald Trump without fueling paranoia or pushing those who act impulsively over the edge. Trump's already facing threats to his life. I mean, just imagine what could happen if he wins. On election night, what will people who truly believe he's a dictator do? Trump mentioned a bloodbath, and unfortunately, he may turn out to be right again. But true enough, guys, voters said that their personal financial situation had been better when Donald Trump was president during 2017 to 2021. 4 out of 6 voters said that Kamala Harris did not convince them that she would pursue different economic policies than Democratic President Joe Biden, something that they blame for the high cost of living. One of them, Mark Kadish, 61 years old, said he still doesn't know what she's for. For this entrepreneur in Florida, there was no real meat and bones for her plans. Now, I watched the debate myself, guys. To be fair, Kamala Harris did mention some policy specifics, including her plan to offer tax benefits to families and small businesses. But honestly, I think she focused much of the debate on attacking Donald Trump rather than actually laying out detailed policies. Now, an interesting take from one of the voters, Robert Wheeler, 48 years old, a security firm executive in Nevada. He was leaning toward Kamala Harris before the debate, but after the debate, he said that if the election were held tomorrow, he would now vote for Trump, largely because he thought Kamala Harris didn't provide clarity on her policy. Now, apparently, Wheeler felt like how a lot of Americans are feeling right now. The whole debate was Kamala Harris telling them why not to vote for Donald Trump instead of why she's the right candidate. Now, this kind of thinking is probably why the Harris campaign said that they would be interested in having another debate. But Donald Trump was pretty much lukewarm to this idea. And just 2 days after it, he rejected the proposal completely. He posted on his Truth Social account saying that when a prize fighter loses a fight, the first words out of his mouth are, "I want a rematch." He also said polls clearly show that he won the debate against comrade Kamala Harris, the Democrats' radical left candidate, on Tuesday night, and she immediately called for a second debate. He continued by saying that Kamala Harris and President Crooked Joe Biden have destroyed our country with millions of criminals and mentally deranged people pouring into the USA, totally unchecked and unvetted, with inflation bankrupting our middle class. And according to the former president, everyone knows this, and all of the other problems that are caused by Kamala and Joe, it was discussed in great detail during the first debate with Joe and the second debate with Comrade Harris. He also pointed out how the vice president was a no-show at the Fox debate and refused to do NBC and CBS. Therefore, Trump declared there will be no third debate. So there you go, guys. You heard it here first. And after what happened with ABC, it was basically 3-on-1. And I don't blame him if he wants to focus his campaign somewhere else. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump were to sue ABC. I've even heard people say that they should investigate ABC for election interference, maybe even lose their license. Anyway, drop me a quick comment down below. What do you guys think? And while you guys are at it, I definitely appreciate a tap on the like button too. Much appreciated, guys. And we're not done with this one, so definitely stick around. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Now, another recent viral moment that we do need to talk about, President Joe Biden wearing that Donald Trump hat in Pennsylvania. Did y'all see that? Could he have been signaling some hate for Kamala Harris there? Now, some certainly see it that way. I mean, you saw the clip earlier, but now for some context. All right, so basically President Joe Biden visited a firehouse in Shanksville, near where passengers and crew members of Flight 93 died on September 11, 2001, after interrupting the hijacking of their plane and crashing into a field that day. The Flight 93 National Memorial held its 23rd annual observance in Shanksville to commemorate the passengers and the crew of that flight. Now, as you guys saw, Biden was speaking with a man wearing a Trump hat and offering to trade him his own hat with the presidential seal on it for the Trump hat. Some funny back and forth happened when the man asked Biden if he remembered his name. Biden replied that he doesn't remember and he's slow. Yeah, for real, guys. I know he was joking, but this may not be that far from the truth. But yeah, guys, the real viral moment happened when President Biden put the hat on his head, drawing claps and cheers from the crowd. But what came out of Biden's mouth next raised some eyebrows among the people. He said to the crowd, "Remember, no eating cats or dogs." This after claims that President Donald Trump made during his speech with Vice President Kamala Harris on Tuesday that Haitian migrants in Ohio were eating residents' pets, cats, and dogs. Officials say that there have been no credible, detailed reports about the claims. But see, guys, the claims started from a social media post in Springfield, Ohio. The post described how someone's neighbor's daughter's friends suddenly saw a cat hanging from a tree, about to be butchered and eaten, while also alleging that Haitians lived in the house. Alongside the post was a photo showing a man holding what looked to be like a Canada goose by its feet. And although officials have stated that there's no credible evidence supporting these claims, Ohio's Republican Governor Mike DeWine has announced he'll be funneling resources to help ease the influx of some 20,000 Haitian migrants that have arrived in the city of Springfield legally under the Biden-Harris administration in the last several years. So what does that really say to you guys? Now, of course, I did a video just recently. Go to my channel, check it out. Forget if it was a live or video, but I think it was actually a live video where I discussed this. Actually, it was a live. Click on the live tab. You will see a lot of confirmed details about Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs and people's pets in the Springfield, Ohio area. Mainstream media didn't want you to know about it, but I brought the truth to you guys. Definitely hit the channel, click on the lives, and look at that video and you tell me what's really going on. What are they trying to hide? But guys, let's go back to this whole ABC presidential debate, all right? Rumors were flying around recently that an ABC whistleblower was ready to come out with an affidavit about the Harris campaign cheating in the presidential debate. The X account, Black Insurrectionist, a self-described MAGA supporter, posted saying, "I will be releasing an affidavit from an ABC whistleblower regarding the debate. I have just signed a non-disclosure agreement with the attorney of the whistleblower. The affidavit states how the Harris campaign was given sample questions, which were essentially the same questions that were given during the debate, and separate assurances of fact-checking Donald Trump that she would not be fact-checked," end quote. True enough, guys, the ABC News moderators, Lindsay Davis and David Muir, fact-checked Donald Trump at least 5 times, while never fact-checking Kamala Harris, despite her telling lies and half-truths that have been widely fact-checked as being false. And let's not forget Kamala Harris is very close friends with Dana Walden, co-chairman of Disney Entertainment, which oversees Disney's full portfolio of entertainment media, including ABC News. Not to mention the debate moderator, Lindsay Davis, had previously boasted on air about literally being Kamala Harris's sorority sister. Tell me you're being biased without telling me you're being biased. Now, honestly, guys, do you feel safe in America right now? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. We'll circle back to this in a future update. In the meantime, you can check out our other video where we talk about what the fact checkers said about Kamala Harris's rigging of the ABC debate, and yet she still lost. Unbelievable. So yeah, definitely check that out after this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing. I'll see y'all next time.